You guys having fun at the convention?
But we haven't seen you in months.
What happened to your eye?
Somebody fouled me at the game.
What game?
The one you missed.
And summer break's just a few days away.
We should do something. Strictly family time.
Come on, kids. It can be an adventure.
Let's do this!
I am just so happy that we're all together.
Hey, city boy.
Hey.
Get out of here! Let's go right now!
I understand protecting your sister, but there are other ways to handle things. I left my phone.
What? No!
Well, I like your way better.
What the hell, Hutch? On our first day?
I think I stumbled into something.
You're vacationing in an old bootlegging route, full of drugs, crooked cops, and one woman who controls it all. You didn't take your family there, did you?
Yeah.
You'll want to de-escalate the situation.
De-escalate. No escalating. Guys, I'm not gonna fight you. I'm here on vacation.
Find this nobody.
Scorched earth.
I just want a break.
There's no way you were just some family man.
We all have different sides. But most of all, you're a dad. Go fix this shit.
I told you that.
I'm on fucking vacation!
So welcome back to the SWAU's official channel. I'm Bryan, your host, and this is a conversation with the Stars series, and what a star is currently getting ready to star in a few days' time in Nobody 2. It's a wonderful David MacInnis. David, welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Oh, I'm super excited because Nobody, the first film, I just thought was amazing on so many levels. For any lovers of action, stunts, fights, it's just a great movie. But we are going to get into that in a moment. But I want to explore because your IMDb is pretty impressive, and I've been doing a bit of research about you as an actor and a stunt performer. So I've got a few questions to start off before we get into the nitty-gritty of this awesome film that's coming out. So, cool. I mean, you've been in the industry, David, for over 2 decades.
Correct.
And it sounds a long time, doesn't it? But what sparked you into going into this direction and not like a 9-to-5 job, working in an office?
Right. So where I grew up in Canada, it's in Edmonton. It's quite a prolific theater town, and so my parents brought me to see a lot of theater, and it just seemed like a natural thing. And so I went to theater school, at my alma mater there in Edmonton, and yeah, it just kind of progressed from there. It was just something that I had always done, and so I just continued in that. So. I wish there was a better, sort of like lightning strike type story, but I was interested in it. My parents, sort of fostered that interest, and here we are, as you said, 2 decades later. Which I hate to say that, but yeah.
I know. You know what? Time flies, and it's shocking. Do you know when you listen to music, and you just think it was a few years ago, and then you realize it got released like 30 years ago, and you're thinking, my goodness, how time flies. But when you decided that you wanted to go on this journey of being an actor, a writer, and a stunt performer, did you have like aspirations? Did you have like a mood board of who you wanted to work with or wanted to work on?
Yes. So not a mood board necessarily, but I know what you're asking. So, man, there's so many, because I was, as an actor, you always imagine you're going to be asked these questions, and so you're always sort of practicing the answer. But then when you're faced with them, you kind of don't know what to say. But I mean, I grew up in the 80s, so 80s and 90s, sort of, I guess what would be considered now classic cinema. And so, motivated by those stories, obviously. But I think it was more so just the feeling of performing that was motivating. There's something about, being up in front of people and telling a story. And so I think it was more that than, sort of maybe a hard exterior goal. The reason that I'm sort of hedging here as well, I think, as you talk to more actors, and maybe some people have even said this too, what this industry teaches you pretty quickly is that, like, whatever you had on your mood board doesn't matter. You can have these ideas, and you can, but yeah, where the industry can use you and what the industry wants from you is always sort of different. So I sort of gave up on those ideas a long time ago. Also, when you're focused on sort of, those exterior goals, that's what leads to disappointment, because then that's expectation. So you really do have to be more process based, I believe, as an actor.
I mean, when growing up, just out of interest, because you mentioned the 80s and 90s, can you remember the first film that you went to go and see at the cinema?
Yes. So Return of the Jedi would have been the absolute first movie that I saw in theater. But the one that I think had the most impact on me was the original Ninja Turtles, which is 1990.
That's the same as me. That's the same as me. Literally, I can remember going to watch that. That for me, out of all the movies, because that was the movie I was going to say, because I can remember going to see it at the Odeon Cinema, which is sadly isn't there anymore, and just watching it and just that magic and walking out and singing the Vanilla Ice soundtrack. It was just fantastic.
Yeah. No, so it's, I mean, that's Industrial Light and Magic, and Henson. Just absolutely magical. So apparently you've probably heard this, Bryan, they're doing a live action Last Ronin.
Yes.
Which, if it gets an R rating, is going to be absolutely wild. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Which is what they're trying to aim for, is an R-rated Turtles movie, which I think is going to be pretty epic, to be fair.
Yeah, I agree.
But again, the nostalgia thing, I mean, they're trying to get the actress, Judith, I forgot her surname.
Yes.
Yeah, into that as sort of like a nod. So who knows?
I don't know why, I don't know if she, I hope her schedule works out for that, because that would just, it's the perfect continuance, right? Like, it would be incredible, right? If they could get Elias Koteas as well, that would be, we'll keep our fingers crossed anyway.
Yeah, I'll be there not dragging my kids, but I'll be there, go with a big smile on my face. So when we look back, I read somewhere that your first on-camera role was in a commercial. I don't know if I'm right in saying that. What was that for? And what was that like, being on camera for the first time?
It was a Spin Master Toys commercial for a product line called Flick Tricks. I don't know if you've seen, they had these bikes, like these little BMX bikes that you like ride around on your hands. I don't know. Anyway, so I was some sort of skydiving character, and the reason I actually got hired is I had this crazy, like, wavy mop of hair. And when they were rigging me up, they had to put me in a helmet. I was in this rig tied up to the ceiling, so they could like spin me, and I could do these kind of tricks on a snowboard. And the safety guy gives me a helmet. The director's like, "Whoa, what's going on? What's going on? We need to see his hair." And they're like, "Well, you can't show that because it's illegal to skydive without a helmet. So the whole reason I was cast, they couldn't even show. So my hair's much different now, but it used to be quite impressive. Yeah.
Mine too, and then it started to get a bit thinner in places. I'm waiting for the moment where I just shave it all off and do a Bruce Willis. But do you know what? Let's talk about Nobody 2, which I'm so excited about, and I just think the whole sense of this movie, especially the first one, and a lot of the original cast are coming back. If you could tell us a bit about this film and who you play in it, and then we're going to get into the nitty gritty after that.
Right. So if you haven't seen the first Nobody, this is just obviously a continuation of that. So it's the Mansell family. So it's Hutch, played by Bob Odenkirk, of course. His wife is played by Connie. God, what's Connie's last name?
Nielsen.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, Connie Nelson. And the kids, Gage Monroe and Paisley. I can't think of her last name right now. Anyway, Hutch is a former assassin. He's sort of out of the game. Extenuating circumstances sort of bring him back in. He has to fight his way out of this, sort of terrible situation. It brings the family closer together. Anyway, that's sort of the first one, which sort of leads directly into the second one. So now in the second one, now mind you, I haven't seen a cut of this yet. So I can only tell you what I know from the script, of course, which I've read, and then from the trailers. I'm assuming it's roughly the same as what we shot. So there's some tension in the family, now that Hutch is sort of back at work, and he decides that he's going to take the family on a vacation to this amusement park sort of resort that he used to go to when he was a kid. Spoiler alert, it doesn't go as planned. Most of the stuff that I'll talk about has already sort of been in the trailer. So this isn't like a dead giveaway, but he ends up, sort of discovering that there's a criminal element in this old this amusement park that he used to go to as a child. Fights and hilarity ensues, and that's it. Yeah.
And you play a character called Toby, if I'm right in saying.
Correct, yes. Sorry, yes, that was the second part of your question. So I am this security guard at the local sort of arcade, along with a buddy of mine, Tristan Carlucci. And we're just there to make sure, keep everyone in line, make sure the visitors don't mess too much with the locals, and yeah.
But the question is, do you get to fight with the main man himself?
I do. Yes. Yeah. We are. Apparently, it's the first fight in the film. It's basically the inciting incident, I guess you could call it. It's we sort of start everything off. Yeah.
I mean, Bob is renowned for doing his own stunts and the stuff that he goes through. I mean, I've seen so many things on social media about how long he's been training and everything like that. And you being a stunt performer yourself, what was it like actually, fighting with him? And was it 100% him? And what was that like to work with him in that way?
It was amazing. So his double was there, but he didn't use the double, so it was all Bob. He's amazing. There's generally varying skill levels among actors when you're coordinating or when you're in fight scenes, and so it's the stunt performer's job obviously to adjust for that, right? Because our job is obviously to elevate them and to make them look good. But Bob, I mean, remember that this is not his first rodeo, right? Like obviously he's got Nobody under his belt. They shot Normal right after Nobody 2, which is another action film. And he's been training, consistently since they shot the original Nobody, which I think they shot it in late 2020 or early 2021. So he's got years and years of training under his belt. So yeah, it was awesome. And he's incredibly precise and supportive. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. It's tricky. The funny thing about, at least for me, because I'm such a fan of film and TV, is that I get starstruck. Like you would never know if you were talking to me but inside I'm just like, oh my God, like this is Saul Goodman, and he's coming at me and he's going to punch me in the face, So that you have to get over that pretty quickly, otherwise you will get punched in the face. So, but no, he's lovely. He's lovely. Yeah.
And I just love it because he doesn't come across as an action hero. Do you know what I mean? It's not stereotypical like Scott Hatkins or Michael J. White
sure.
or someone like that. And I think that adds to it because he's not stereotypical. I mean, you know, you as a performer, as an actor and a stunt performer, how difficult is it to, you know, balance the thing of acting, but also making sure physically that you're giving the best performance, but yet keeping yourself safe as well?
Yeah, that's a great question, Bryan. And one, I'm not sure people understand the pressure that someone like Bob is under in this situation, just as the lead of a film, right? When you've got all of these expectations and all of this money riding on you, but he's also, you know, the main stunt performer in the production as well, right? So it's a lot to balance. It was kind of the same thing, like working with Alan Ritchson on Reacher, right? Yeah, it's incredibly difficult for these guys, and they do just an amazing job. I mean, they have a great team around them, obviously supporting them, but they're doing, you know, a ton of work. And so I can't speak to playing something, you know, like the size of Bob's character in this to be the lead in a film. I can't even imagine. The script changes every day, learning new choreography. Like the scene that we shot, Bob actually rewrote it on the day of shooting. The way that the script was written, and this is nothing against Derek Kolstad, he's an amazing writer. But of course, when he wrote the script, he didn't know what the orientation of the set was going to look like. And so the way that the lines were written didn't match up to the way, like where the characters were in space. So Bob had to go away very quickly and rewrite the script. So we were given like photocopied, you know, handwritten sides, and we rebuilt the scene so it would work for camera in the space, along with basically building the fight like on the same day.
I mean, how much time goes into it? You know, the fight scene that you're in. I mean, I've seen a lot of stunt performers. They do like the previs and they do all the rehearsals before. So the scene that you filmed, you know, how long did that take to rehearse and get everything right before they shouted shoot?
Yeah, so this one was pretty quick. So there were a couple of gags that were like specifically built for this set. I don't want to give too much away, but they knew where they had to get to and what they had to do. In terms of the fight itself, like, you know, me taking that first hit and sort of some progressions after that, we were just adjusting on the day. But it's a relatively quick fight, right? Like it's probably only 5 or 6 beats long, where of course fights can be. Sorry, I thought I had my phone on airplane mode here. Fights can obviously be much longer than that. So this one, normally we would have, you know, a rehearsal day, but this one, it didn't really require it because it's so quick. So yeah, this was on the day.
And with Bob doing the majority of his own stunts, you know, bearing in mind that he's quite central to this movie, you know, do the other stunt performers get a bit nervous having to, you know, fight with him instead of actually a stunt double that's, you know, not sort of, that can probably take a few punches and be fine?
Right. No, that's a great question. I didn't feel any of that, but our fight scene was probably the lowest in terms of danger. There's a fight later that's in some of the trailers that we refer to it as the boat fight. That was a lot more involved. So I wasn't there for that fight though, so I can't speak to that. But again, as we talked about before, Bob being, you know, as skilled and as proficient as he is, I don't think anyone was concerned about that. He knows what he's doing, you know. So, yeah. But yes, you don't want to make when you accidentally hit someone in the industry, we call it positive contact. And no, you don't want to have positive contact with the star. That's a no-no. You do that, you'll never work again. Yeah.
No, because I can remember a while ago I was chatting with Thomas Jane about Punisher, and he was telling me a story on how he actually stabbed Kevin Nash for real.
That's right. Yes, that I remember hearing that story. Yeah, and didn't they didn't stop the scene apparently.
No.
I think they got shot.
Yeah.
Like he stabbed him in the collarbone or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Wild.
To be fair, I've done a bit of film and TV in the past, and I trained in stage fighting and everything like that. And I did a film, and I ended up getting my nose broken because the person I was fighting opposite, as the camera panned past us, he just lost it. He just made up anything, and then he hit me in the face. I spun round, hit my head against this bar, got back up, and the blood makeup that they already put on, there was a lot more of. But
My God,
you know, it's one of those things. It's a danger. This is why I prefer. At the time, I preferred just acting. You know, just being on stage. It's safer. But is there something for viewers that you know may not know the ins and outs of these big stunts and stunt work? Is there is there something about filming big action scenes that audiences might be surprised to learn?
well, that's a great question, Brian. So I don't know if I can speak to that necessarily. So my skill set lends itself more to like just fight scenes. So I haven't been in like big gags. Those things scare me, like burns or high falls or stuff like that. I think what would surprise people to know is that you don't want to work with a stunt performer that is like, oh, I'm crazy and I'll do anything, and I'm, that sort of like that reckless attitude that leads to broken noses, right? So there are people that have transitioned that are actual fighters that transition to fighting on camera or fighting on stage, but they have to learn like a completely new system, right? Because real fighting doesn't look good on camera, and what you would do in a real fight is not what you would do, on film. So I think people would be surprised by that stunt performers are a lot more safety conscious, because you have to be. I mean, as you said before, they were asking sort of about Bob, like, were we concerned about hurting Bob? We're concerned about hurting everybody, like including ourselves, which of course will happen. If you're hitting the concrete 16 times, it's going to happen. But you want to minimize that, and especially in a higher budget production where they can shoot something 30 times, right? This is where I think female performers tend to have it a lot worse, because they'll be doing, car hits wearing a dress or stair falls wearing a dress. You can't hide pads under that, right? Normally, if you're a dude and, if you're playing a cop or a SWAT guy, you can hide all kinds of pads, cover up all those, soft bits that you want to cover up. But for them, that's a lot harder. If you ever see a woman doing a stair fall, that's crazy.
Do you know what? I've had quite a few women stunt performers on my show, and kudos to them. I can't believe that only like 30 years ago you didn't have women. You had men dressed up as women, and now you get some amazing female performers that are coming through the ranks, and rightly so. And I think that the change in the industry, because we're getting more female leads, which is calling for more female stunt performers. But Nobody 2. By the time the audience sees this, it's going to be out in the cinemas, so go and watch it. I wanted to mention Reacher, one of my favourite shows of all time. We were just speaking about it before we started to record, about Buster Reeves, the stunt coordinator, who is sending me some swag. He's sending me some crew items from the latest season 4 of Reacher. So
they're doing right now, I think. Yeah. So they've just finished Neagly, and now they're going on to Reacher. But you had a great story arc on Reacher season 2, if I'm right in saying. Correct.
I mean, and if I'm right in saying, the character Parker.
Well, these things don't do any good if you don't keep them sharp. See how well you maintain your tools.
My memory is good today. But you have a great scene with Alan and the I forgot her name now. You stab her in the arm.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's on the tip of my tongue. She's wonderful. Yes.
Yeah. But what was
my
that?
all the nobody two names. So yeah.
Well,
Serinda Swan. Serinda.
yeah, she was
Yeah.
in Smallville. I remember that she played a character in Smallville. But what was that like to work on? Because that, again, another big show and production wise, and now it's not just stunts, it's acting to getting your chops around. Because we will talk about your classical training and Shakespeare and everything like that in a moment. But what was that like to go head to head with Alan and be on that show?
Here's the deal. I can use your pal's brass knuckles and smash your skull, or you can let the bitch fall.
Yeah, it was wild. So that show, I believe the budget was $100 million for season 2. So that was $10 million an episode. It's the second season, so I'm not going to worry about any spoilers. I think people have seen it already. The third season's already aired. But in like all of that helicopter stuff, the fight scene where I get killed, they built, that's a rig. That's a rig on a hydraulic gimbal. I can't even imagine how much something like that would cost. So they literally had like movable stairs that they had to move in and out to get us up to the helicopter. There was a guy on a remote control that was able to. So anytime you see us reacting to that moving, that's not us on a stable surface going, whoa, like Star Trek style. No, there was a guy actually controlling it, and we were reacting to those actual movements. So that was nuts. So it's like the biggest set pieces I've ever seen in my life. They also shot when it was 100 days. I was there for 12 days. They shot for 100 days.
Wow.
So like just the size of that production, it's immense beyond belief. And Alan Ritchson, my God, he is so amazing. I have never seen someone more particular about their own performance, but also just always wanting to do better, do more and do better. So he had an iPad, like a monitor, that after every take he would watch. And so when we were doing the fight scene, he would review immediately and be like, okay, no, this can be better. This can be better. Make sure you do this. Make sure this. It was amazing. Yeah, it was awesome to see, and not in a controlling way, not in an overbearing way. He wants to make the best product possible. It was so fascinating to watch. And then as someone that's just there to support, you can just kind of sit back and see what's going on. Yeah, fascinating. The fight scene with Alan. Oh, sorry. Funny sidebar. So Alan, he's even bigger now, but in season 2. Like he's a big dude. Now I'm not small. I'm 6'1". I'm like 230, right? If you see us in that fight scene, I'm a little shorter and a little smaller, but still, like in real life, if you saw me, you'd be like, oh, there's a big dude. So if you remember when he's holding Serinda outside of the helicopter, I drop a knee onto his back and I have a little exchange before I, get stabbed, right? So right before we did it, I just said, oh, Alan, like, are you wearing a back pad? So he's leaning out of the helicopter and he looks up at me and he says, you can't hurt me. And then kind of looks back. And it was like, and it wasn't an arrogant thing. He's just being honest, right? And I was like, oh my God, that's the absolute coolest thing anyone's ever said. So, I mean, I made sure not to put my knee right into his spine, but he's right. He's a mountain of muscle, right? But like I will remember that forever. But in the fight scene specifically, right at the opening, like I turn around, with the gun because he surprises us and we do this sort of big wheel around and he punches me in the ribs. We shot that part of the fight maybe 12, maybe 15 times. I'm not sure. I don't remember. And he just like coming in super hard every time and just I barely felt it on my ribs, but time and time again, just uber consistent. I felt, like so safe in those fights. Well, like, and when you're fighting a giant of a man, it could be, super dangerous, right? But yeah, he's just impeccable.
And he's getting bigger season by season. And he was on social media the other day because he's got a bit of a black eye because he had an accident during filming. So I think he's cut his eye. So it just shows that he is tough but I think he's carrying on. I mean, you've been on so many different shows, from Reacher to Star Trek, and Nobody too. How do you prepare for your roles? How is the same thing that you do for every role that is in your tool bag?
I mean, I think so. It's so it would depend. The reason that my brain is going right now is, so I teach acting, or I taught acting when I lived in Toronto. All acting training is geared towards how you play a lead, right? And this sort of goes back to this mood board conversation that we had in the beginning. So all actors are leaving training thinking that they're going to be the lead of a film, right? And your career goes a certain way. And of course, most of us never end up in that situation. So the stories that we hear, the stories that you hear about actors preparing for roles, will always be how a lead prepares for a role, right? But the way that someone like Alan Ritchson or the way that someone like Bob Odenkirk have to prepare for a role is very different than someone like me that is just coming in to support the production, right? So, like, am I writing backstories? Am I doing all that kind of stuff? It's probably happening a bit more naturally because I've been doing it for so long, but I'm not, putting together a playlist for Toby or, writing exhaustive backstories for Parker. I think it depends on what your job is, right? And my job in most things is to serve the story, serve the director, and make everyone else around me look good. That's my job, right? So, I mean, what's that Tom Hanks quote that he heard from that director years ago? Show up early, know your lines, have an idea. That's really all you can do in a scene. And then, when the blocking is happening, you offer up those ideas and they'll either be accepted or they won't be. And, you just move on. Keep your ears open, keep your mouth shut.
I mean, you are classically trained as well, theatre-wise, with a strong Shakespearean background. I mean, a lot of actors out there aren't theatre people. They've just literally gone into TV or in film. So how has theatre helped you into developing yourself as the actor that we see today? And do you think it would have been different if you weren't classically trained?
That's a really interesting question, Bryan. So actually, for me, my journey, I think that coming out of theater school, I was fighting my training for probably the first 10 years that I was out of school. The reason is when I was in theater school, as you said, like, it was a conservatory program, we did not study we did no on camera. It was just stage work, right? And so when you are on stage, you have to reach the back of the theater, right? And so you're always projecting. You have to push your performance out, right? And that's literally the opposite, not quite, but it's the opposite of what you want to do on camera, where you want to bring the camera to you, right? And so it took me a lot of time to sort of switch that. I mean, the principles are the same. What is acting? Pretending to be somebody else at the very, base level, right? But the mediums are so different. Michael Caine has that great analogy that, acting on the stage is like doing surgery with a scalpel. Acting on camera is like doing surgery with a laser. The analogy that I like is that acting is running, but stage is a marathon and film is a sprint. So what I like about the theater training that I did is that, I mean, I was in theater school for 6.5 years because I was auditioning for this program that only accepted, 12 students a year. It took me a couple of times to get in. But that immersion, in just the base skill set that you need, I think is what served me. I wish I had spent more time when I first graduated to sort of figure out how to transition that to an on camera. Yeah, so that's what I would say. Like I said, yeah, if I knew then what I knew now, I'm not sure I would have gone to theater school. I think you could learn what you need to learn just going to on-camera classes if this is what you want to do.
But do you think it helps you though? Because there are a lot of like Ian McKellen and actors like that, and Patrick Stewart, that has always said that, theatre background, Shakespeare especially, help develop you into such a good character actor. I mean,
Sure. Yes.
what is it that you get out of film and TV that you don't get out of theatre, and vice versa?
That's a really interesting question. Just let me put a pin in that. Just going back to what you said about Sir Ian McKellen and Sir Patrick Stewart. So when you're asking former Royal Shakespeare Company members whether they think that theater training is important, of course they're going to say that it's important. Also, I don't know if you've read Patrick Stewart's autobiography. It's incredible. Everyone should read it, especially if you're an actor. Now, this, I think as a Canadian, this is really, really interesting because our theater scene is informed by England and our film and TV scene is informed by the United States. So I think what we have here is sort of a real cultural divide, right? Where I can't say for certain, but I think that Canadians would have sort of more experience with Shakespeare than Americans generally. And Americans are going to, be focused more on American theater than sort of Shakespearean theater, right? So what you get from theater that you do not get from on-camera acting is a long duration of being in the character and in the story, right? As soon as they say places, you feel like you're getting on a roller coaster and there is nothing that is stopping that ride. So as a performer, I think that's a much more artistically satisfying process because, as you know, you've worked on camera, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. Very, very disjointed. Things are very rarely shot in sequence. And so that's, I think, the one thing that you do get from theater that you don't get from film and TV. Interestingly enough, I think that what you get from, say, on-camera work that you don't get from film and TV, and I think some theater performers would argue with me about this, but I do believe that it's a more collaborative art. You really need to know what other departments are doing so that you can support their work as well, right? Everything is sort of geared towards the actor on stage, not necessarily, but yeah, I feel like it's more, as they say, it's the director editor's medium, right? So you need to know how you can contribute to that.
Are you good at memorizing lines, David?
So that is actually my one and only superpower. I'll give you an example. I got a request for a self-tape yesterday for a show that's filming in Toronto. I got sent the sides at 10:55. I submitted a 3-page scene by 3 p.m.
Wow.
So that is my only, yes, everything else it doesn't come easily, but for whatever reason. So the way that I memorize, I can remember where the lines are on the page. So it's almost like a physical, memory of how the page actually looks. And that's how I can kind of navigate through. I feel like anyone that struggles with memorization is just going to have a hard time in this business. Yeah, that's something. I mean, you've done it, right?
I can remember doing a show called, if I remember rightly, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. And
the Stoppard play. Yeah.
It was like a little play, but it was questions with questions. And it wasn't anything. So literally what I had to do was on stage, I had to remember where I stood or what I was doing. And that was my physical cue on what I was going to say. But what a difficult thing to do because you haven't got a story or anything like that. But yeah, I used to be terrible, honestly. And I think
that play is particularly difficult though, because it's a lot of rhetoric. Right. And it's all those questions. Like there's the tennis scene. My God. Like it's all, I can't even imagine. Yeah. That would be a tough one. Yeah.
And that's why I don't do it anymore, because my wife sends me to the supermarket with a list of 10 things. I come back with 4. So this is why I'm literally not made for it anymore. But with all these great shows that you've been on and these great series and films and everything, do you keep anything as a memento after finishing the show or the film? Do you steal anything, David? Do you take anything? Do you borrow?
I'm shocked when I hear people say that they do take things. Again, remember, completely different if you were the lead on a series or what have you, right? So when I shot my episode of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, you have these beautiful uniforms and these John Fluvog boots, and you get the belt and the insignia, and and I had a phaser and stuff, but like the phaser, I mean, these are thousands of dollars, right? Like that was they bring it to you in a case, and someone's watching it. So one, I would never steal one of those phasers, but two, it would just be impossible. It would be absolutely impossible. So what I'll tend to save is
now you're going to get a box out with like four phasers.
Yeah, that's right. No, just like there's just call sheets, you just stuff like that. But no, I've never been in a situation where, I've been able to take anything. I hope so, man. Can you imagine doing like a Star Wars movie and getting to keep like your lightsaber hilt or something like that? That would be wild. I can't even imagine something like that.
And it's shocking, isn't it? You wouldn't think that there was that. I mean, I can understand, I suppose, the phasers and everything, but the pins, surely. Do you know what I mean?
Hundreds of dollars, right? At least, for sure.
Well, that's obviously what they're telling the tax man. Somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
This paperclip is worth $3,000.
That's right. Yeah.
I wanted to add as well that you, during the lockdown, you created a YouTube channel, and we see a helmet behind you from your superhero lockdown, which can I say, this is what I love about this show, and me talking to people like yourselves. I explore new things, and it's a great series. Everyone needs to. Check it out.
You actually watched some of it?
Yeah, I've subscribed.
Oh my God, Bryan,
I have subscribed, and I'm going to put the link on this video as well for people to actually go on and watch. So, what was the inspiration around it? Because obviously, it's COVID-19. We're all going mad with hysteria.
100%. So first of all, thank you for bringing this up. I did not think that we were going to get to talk about this. You can see the joy on my face. So it's, as you said, so this is like in the middle of the pandemic. We were all losing our minds. Tom Cruise hadn't sort of navigated the industry, back into being able to shoot. Sidebar, I don't know if actually people know that story. It was basically Tom Cruise that spearheaded like getting the industry back to working. So we were all just sitting around twiddling our thumbs, never mind just being terrified about being in a pandemic. So this was by about, I think, April. So lockdown had been happening for a couple of months. And I was like, I'm going to lose my mind if I don't do something. And so I'd been kicking around some ideas, and I thought, wouldn't it be funny? Like, what would street level superheroes be doing during a lockdown? And so I had a personal training studio in Toronto when I was there. And so in the first season, we actually just shot on the roof of the building where my gym was. And yeah, it's basically just these little, 3-minute episodes of like this sort of stupid Batman Punisher ripoff with this, sort of Robin sidekick, and just them sort of dealing with lockdown. Yeah. So it was just trying to stay busy, and we just kept going with it. So
I know it was a mad time, and actors like yourselves, you had the pandemic, then you had the writers' strike, then the actors' strike, don't get me wrong, it's very important for those things to happen, but it's the interim where you're not working or not being able to promote. Because I remember I was in London for the June premiere for Dune, and they had to come off the red carpet halfway through because the actors' strike came into force and they weren't allowed to promote anything. So
Oh,
they're all
that's
come down the
right.
red carpet, and then literally the actors just walk off, which is crazy. It really was. But no, you know what? Everyone needs to see this superhero lockdown. It is great fun to watch. Have you got? I mean, obviously you're a writer as well. Have you got any other plans on anything that you're working on that you're writing?
Yeah, I mean, don't we all? Yes, I'm kicking around a whole bunch. I just need to focus and actually just commit to one idea. I'm finding lately, and I think, just speaking about the pandemic, I think what none of us is sort of giving ourselves potentially enough credit for is like this was a huge, kind of global trauma that we all went with, and we're probably still dealing with some of the fallout. Like we all have PTSD to some degree or another because of the lockdowns, I'm sure. And I don't know about you, Bryan, but like my attention span is just not what it used to be. And so like I registered for some courses at the University of Toronto during the pandemic, and I found that first year, 2020, was totally fine. I was doing this certificate in creative writing, but then once 2021 hit, I couldn't focus anymore. I actually had to drop out of a couple of classes just because I was like, man, I don't know what's going on with my brain. So I think now that things are, relatively quote unquote back to normal, it may just be sitting down and going through the pain of staring at that blank page. But yeah, I do have a couple of ideas. I've been thinking about, now that I live in Winnipeg, just doing, like another season of Superhero Lockdown here. We'll see what happens.
It's got to be done. It's got to be done. It seriously has. You said about Tom Cruise and the cinema. I'm seeing a massive uptake at the cinema now, which is great to see, because at a certain time, I know there's a lot of like cinemas in the US and in Canada that were closing because of the pandemic. But do you see cinemas becoming more popular where you are now? Now these movies are coming out that are, I suppose, made for the cinema?
I mean, I don't know. I can't say. It'd be nice to see that data. I really hope so. I don't know if you've had this experience when when I talk to people in their 20s, and they'll say like, "Oh, I don't go to the movies, or I don't really watch TV," and it breaks my heart again. But I mean, like I think we're roughly the same age. Like, we didn't have social media. I only came into that sort of later in life, right? So the cinema was that was the thing. What else could you do, right? So Top Gun Maverick is the movie that brought everyone back to the theater, right? And have you seen Superman yet?
I went to the premiere. I went to the fan. I met James Gunn and David Corenswet.
Of course,
I'm a massive
you did.
Superman fan, mate. Yeah.
Listen, so with what Tom Cruise is doing and bringing to the theater, and now like with James Gunn and Peter Safran's like relaunching of the DC universe, and like Superman, like what an absolute home run, right? I hope that people are going to be sort of coerced back or motivated to go back to the theater, but I hope the studios realize that what people crave is just a good story.
Yes.
I mean, why does nobody work? It's a good story, right? You can have as many fight scenes or as many, things exploding, but if there's no reason for those things to happen, it's going to fall flat. Look at The Fall Guy, right? That is just objectively a good movie. It's a well-written movie. You've got great actors in it. Emily Blunt, Ryan Gosling, come on, how can you go wrong? But then you've got all of these insane stunts on top of that. So I guess all that to say, hopefully that, like, people talk about superhero fatigue in terms of movies. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think what people are tired of is poorly told stories.
Yeah.
Right? These rushed sort of projects. And I think that, Disney has sort of seen, where they've kind of made mistakes, and they're going to adjust to the market, which is what they have to do. So what I would love to see, kind of moving forward is we need obviously these massive tentpole productions, like Mission Impossible, like Superman. But I really hope that the studios sort of recognize what A24 and what Blumhouse are doing, with these $10 million movies, right? Like, I want to go back to the theater and watch, just tell me a good story with, 3 actors and a $10 million budget. I know they don't make financial sense anymore because of no DVD sales and all of the change in the industry, but I hope that that's where we're headed. You know?
And that's why I love indie movies. Don't get me wrong, Superman is great. Do you know what I mean? But indie movies for me, they've got a lot more heart because they're not dictated to by big studios. So the writers make the film that they wrote on the page, which I think's fantastic. So what have you got planned next? Is it, a time to put your feet up and enjoy Nobody 2 when it comes out? Is there anything else that you can share that you're working on at the moment?
So I just worked as a stunt performer on The Long Walk, which is coming out September 12th. So that's, September 12th, that's out. Francis Lawrence directed that. Amazing. Mark Hamill also is in that movie. And just going back to what I said before about being starstruck. So I'm just a guard in this as a stunt performer, but I was in a scene and there's Mark Hamill. And to me, he will always be Luke Skywalker. Of course, he's done so many other things in his career, but that was a tough one to just sort of stand there in this scene and not, absolutely gawk at my childhood hero. But yeah, that's coming out. I can't think of anything else. I don't work hard enough to put my feet up. Alan Richson probably needs to put his feet up. I worked like 350 days last year, if I remember what he said correctly. But yeah, I'm just in the trenches, auditioning. Violent Night 2 is filming here in town. I'm really hoping I can sneak in on that in some capacity. Oh, I shot. It was just in November 1963. That's Roland Joffe's movie. I think that's coming out next year. It's about the assassination of Kennedy. That's going to be really, really good.
Oh wow!
And yeah, should be next November. I think that'll be coming out.
And is that going to be like literally based on true events? Obviously, true events with Kennedy, but the story around what it's going to be covering.
Yeah, what's interesting about that one is it is written from the perspective of the Chicago mob. The name of the screenwriter eludes me right now, but he wrote a book. His uncle was in the Chicago mob, and this is not speculation. This is confirmed. And the story that he ended up writing down was just sort of the story that the whole family knew just as like an oral tradition. And so he actually codified it, wrote it down, and then they made it into a screenplay. So I know a lot of people are very upset about this script. One of the characters that I auditioned for that I didn't end up booking, J.D. Tippett, he was the police officer that was killed like 45 minutes after Kennedy. They say Lee Harvey Oswald did it, but if you actually look into the ballistics report, which is all out there, you can see it clearly was not Oswald. But this script implicates Tippett as sort of an informant. So his family is losing his mind over this, rightfully so. So I don't know if this is true. I think they may have had to change the name of the character. So I mean, it's tricky when you're dealing with something of this nature with real people, with families that are still around. But the script was fascinating, really, really well done, and it's Travolta, Robert Carlyle.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the list now, and Jefferson White from Yellowstone as well.
So I got to fight. Which was great.
Yeah, Neil Jackson as well, who I've spoken to. Lovely man. But yeah, I mean, do you think Oswald did it? Out of your personal opinion?
So that's again, as a Canadian, I don't think it doesn't have the same kind of cultural significance for us here. So I know very little about it. So I have I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but
thing is, I spoke to a Navy SEAL sniper, okay, and he was saying one of his friends did a documentary where they tried to just reenact what had actually happened, and he said his friend struggled to do 3 shots in concession at that speed, and he was a Navy SEAL sniper. He was an operator.
Sure.
So for me, I'm more about fact, and but I've been there. I've been to the book. observatory.
Oh, wow.
I've been to where he got shot. And unfortunately, there's people walking around with newspapers with all the gruesome photos in them, which I think is a bit sad. I think it's sad it happened, but there's a lot more to the story, I think. And it'll be interesting to watch this, because I'm all for hearing from different sides, and because we all experience different things. We're all going to have different opinions, and
Sure, yeah.
it's a killer cast. So we cannot do wrong there. But David, thank you so much. Maybe we can get you back on the show for your next project. But it's been an absolute joy speaking to you.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I'm going to get off and put myself in an ice bath, I think, because I'll find my cats, because when it gets hot, my cats just lay about everywhere. But David, look after yourself. Keep safe, my friend.
All right. Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it.